So now you've covered the basics of Bubble. You know how to set up an app on Bubble, you know how to design an interface, and you also have an idea on how the workflows work. So now let's try and make a basic to-do application in Bubble. How do we do that? Let's start with creating an application. So just click on create an app. Let's name our app to-do. You can name it anything that you like. And now let's get started. I would like to start with basic features. Let it load. And here we have our brand new page. Now let us make our to-do list. I want a very simple feature on it. The user should have an option to add the to-do name. The to-do name is basically, let's say I want to finish my English homework. I want to finish it before 10th August. So that would be the deadline, and then there can be a done button. So we can display if the task is done, then we can just remove the task from our list. So let's try making this. Now what do we need? We need to take an input from the user, and we want the user to fill in the to do name. So let us try going to the left, and what I'll do is I'll drag down to the input column, and I will draw an input column here. Pretty simple till now. Now this placeholder is what will appear in place of type here. So let's say I can say enter the task. So we ask the user to enter the task. Now what we want is we want the users to pick a date which will be the deadline of this task. So let us see, we have a date time picker here in the input form. So let us draw this as well. This looks pretty solid. And then we would need to have a button. Why a button? So that when the user clicks on submit, the to-do gets created. So the to-do here, this is submit. So this seems pretty easy to follow till now. Now for the UI part, what we can do is we can have a heading. So let's add a heading, list of all, or you can just name it whatever you like. I would like to name it list of all to-dos. Now I would increase this box length, and I would place it here, and I can also increase the size. You can absolutely go crazy. You can make it multicolored, you can add you can make it italic, you can underline it. It's just like Word, and you can put it anywhere that you want to. I would also like to make it bold. So our heading is also pretty much done. I would like to change the color here and make it yellow because I really like this color. Yeah, so I think, and you can also move this here because it is really disturbing me, so I can put it here or maybe here. So this looks pretty solid till now. But how do we actually save things? We would need to save things in a database, right? So now go to your left, and here just go to the data tab. Now what we want to do is we want to create a new type. This new type, let's call it a to-do. I will create this. Now this to-do will have some of its qualities. Like a person has quality, a person can be intelligent, a person can be beautiful. So what are the characteristics of this particular to-do? I want this to-do to have a name. So let's add to-do name, and this field can be text. So the to-do name is, of course, it's going to be a string, it's going to be in letters, so it's going to be some text. I will create this. Another thing that I want to create here is a deadline. And what will the type be? This time the type will be a date. Am I right? And I will create this again. Now there is one other thing I want, which we are not getting from the user. I want to know if the to-do is an active to-do, like have we finished the to-do yet or have we not finished it. So I want to create a new field here. I can name it finished, and I can say that the field type is a boolean. So let's see if so the boolean, so what do we mean by boolean? A boolean is either a true or a false. My name is Ayushi, is it true or is it false? apple is a fruit, is it true or is it false? So a boolean is always between this yes or this no. So now I will also create this. Yeah, so I think we're doing pretty well till here. Our database is made. Now if you go to app data and if you see all to do's, this table has been created but we have no data here. So let's try to fill in data. Now how do we do this? We need to create a workflow. Right now we have a database and we have this interface where we are, where we've put in things, but there is no logic. How are things being put in the database? Let's do that. Now when you click on this submit button, I will drag this back here and just click on add workflow. This will take you to the workflow tab. You can also go to the workflow tab from your left side. Now what do we want to do? We want to say that when button submit is clicked, we want to create a new thing. What is this new thing called? It's called a to do. Now what do we want to do to this to do? We want to actually give a give a name to these values. We want to provide a value for these characteristics. So the to do name can be current users. Wait, so the to do name is going to be input enter tasks value. So this, let's say if my task was to finish English homework, this is going to be saved in my to do name, and we are taking this value from the input button which took input from the user for the task. Now you want to set another field. We want to say what is the deadline of this task. The deadline of this task is what we get from the user from the date time picker and its value. And we want one last thing. We want to know from the user if the task is finished or no. So here, we are not getting this value from the user. So what we can do is we can set a default value no, because since I'm creating this task, when I click on submit, I'm adding a to do, so the task is obviously not done yet. So that is why the finish would of course be no at this stage. Later on we can ask the user to cross this to do and then we will make this finish to yes. So let's click on no here. And then we can close it and let's preview. It's taking a little time. Are you excited? So let's say finish English homework. I would make it 22 and let's say I click on submit. Now if I go back here to my data, you can see that my entry has been created. The to do name is finish English homework, the created date is today's date, and the deadline is April 22, and the finished date is no. So this is working pretty fine, I think, and it was pretty exciting, but nothing happened here. How do I know that my to do has been created? So we need to do one last thing here. We need to show our to do's on this screen. So let's do that. Now it's the most fun part. What we'll do is we'll add a repeating group here. You will know how to use this. You can always explore this platform and try adding different things. Now we'll first explore with this repeating group. What I'll do is, so what repeating group does is, in future we are going to have a lot of tasks. We might have 10 tasks, we might have 20 tasks. Now I don't want to call out each task separately. So what a repeating group does is, it takes all the tasks from the task database and put them here. So we can, repeating group basically repeats a task for us multiple times. So let's say that I want to code a task wherein I say ki okay, please fetch the first to do from the table. Now if I want to fetch the second to do from the table, I'll have to write another code that okay, please now go and fetch the second to do from the table. Then I write please go and fetch the third to do from the table. Now if you look at it, I'm doing the same thing. So why do I have to call the code again and again? That's very complicated. So this repeating group here, what I'll do is I'll just add that logic to group item 1 and it will automatically be followed in group item 2, group item 3 and group item 4. Let's see how. If it is too complicated for you right now, don't worry. The more you use bubble, all things will start getting clear to you. So let's do one thing. Let's add logic to this group item 1. what I want to do here is I want to add a text here. I am not adding an input, I am adding a text, because here we are fetching this we are fetching the task from the database and we are not inputting anything from the user. Now this particular task is going to be a dynamic data. What do we mean by dynamic? It means that it is not a fixed value. Like if you see, this button's name is submit and it will always be submit no matter what happens to the app. So this submit is static. However, here the to do can always change. It is not going to remain English homework. Let's say I delete English homework and add math homework, so it should show math homework here. So that is why it is going to be dynamic data. Now click on insert dynamic data, and what I want to do, I want to say now, what I want you to do is just click outside this repeating group, and we want to define where this repeating group gets its data from. So I click on type of content, I say to do. So this repeating group is going to have to do type of data, and the data source. So where will we get our data? We will get our data from do a search for type to do. So what we are saying is search whatever to do's I've created, that will be your data source. Now if you go to your left, you will see there is a repeating group to do, and if you click the text below it, you will see that this is the text below the repeating group that we added here. Now we want to have a dynamic data here. So just click on insert dynamic data and say current cells to do. Current cells to do, and this to do's to do name, we want the to do name here. So yeah, so we have our to do name here. So this looks pretty perfect to me. Now what I want to do here is I also want to show a button of done here. So I want the user to check off the to do. So what I'll do is I'll just add a button here in group 1, and it will automatically be added in all other groups. Now I want to label this button done. So what will this done do? Let's see. I go to add workflow. What do we want this done to do is, when someone clicks on done, we want to tell our app that this particular to do has been done and it must be removed from the list of current to do's. So now you remember we made a variable called finished, and it had a no value as default. This done will change the value of finished to yes. So let's go here and say click here to add an action, and this time we don't want to create a new thing, we want to make changes to a current thing. So what I'll do is I'll say thing to change current cells to do, and what do I want to change? I want to change finished to yes. So this is what we want this button to do, and here we'll have just a little bit change in logic. So just click on repeating group to do on the right side of the box, and in the search for to do's I want a constraint. I only want those to do's whose finished is equal to no, and the moment we make finished equal to yes, the to do will be stopped from disappearing here in the repeating group. So this was pretty easy, I think. One last thing I want to do is I want to show the due date of this to do as well here in the repeating group, so that we know that this particular task has a nearer due date, so it must be done first. So what I'll do here is I will add another text here between the current cells to do and done, and I will insert another dynamic data here. I'll say current cells to do and current cell to do's deadline, and I want to format it as 4/18/25. So I will do this here, and then I will close it. Now our app data is pretty much done. Another last thing that I want to do is I want to uncheck this box. So I know this looks pretty ugly, so we will work on its UI in the next video, so don't worry about it. Now let's see if it is working. I will play this, and let's see. I watch a good show on Netflix. Now this is a pretty stupid to do, but I'm still adding it, and I added 24 here, and I click on submit. Now let's see what happens when I click on done. You see, it is not showing us anymore because done changed finished to yes, and we had a condition in all our to do's that the finished has to be no to be displayed here. Now if I click on this as well, so you see we have no pending tasks anymore. But the interesting thing is, if you go to the database, you would still see all these new to dos: write a good show, finish English homework, but just the finished part of them is yes. So this is the difference.